Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, sorry. Today, let us discuss a important topic which is most commonly used for or asked for 2 marks and 4 marks questions. That is otitis externa. What is otitis externa and what are the types and how you treat. So, these are the objectives of this particular class. Before that, I am Dr. Azmat, Assistant Professor, Department of ELT, KMSRC. Right. Otitis externa. So, what is it? What it is? It is a inflammation of the external aortic canal. Right. Otitis externa, including pinna also. Okay. So, the name itself, otitis externa. You have another otitis, otitis externa. In this, it is divided into mainly two groups. One is infective pathology or infective etiology. The second one is reactive. In infective, mainly due to some organisms. It is again by bacterial, fungal and viral. And we have reactive groups, three types, mainly eczematous, seborrheic and neurodermatitis. So in infective group means the infection is with organism, that is by a bacterial and a fungal and sometimes with viral. Okay, so otitis externa is mainly divided into infective and reactive group. Infective group, it has bacterial, fungal and viral. Reactive group, it has eczematous, seborrheic and neurodermatitis. Means reactive means some reactionary thing is there. Okay, so let us discuss the infective group of otitis externa. That is, mainly we have three types: bacterial, fungal and viral. So can you see here the edema? Yeah, edema of the external aortic canal. Due to edema, you cannot see tympanic membrane here, whether it is normal or abnormal, right? So it is nothing but a furuncle. F-U-R-U-N-C-L-E, furuncle. Okay. So this is furuncle. What is furuncle? The furuncle is localized acute otitis externa. A furuncle, it is a basically the staphylococcal infection of the root of the hair follicle. You have hairs in your external aortic canal, right? Outer part of the external aortic canal, right? So the cartilaginous part. So the hair root infection by staphylococcal infection, it is called as furuncle. Generally it is single, only one hair root may get infected, sometimes multiple also. The patient generally presents with severe pain. Why? Because the skin over the cartilage is very taut. Okay, so that's why he will present with severe pain and tenderness. Okay, so the tragus sign, that is when you press over the tragus, he will be having pain. That is, tragus sign is positive here, and this pain is increased by movement of the pinna and jaw movements also. Sometimes chewing of food may aggravate the pain. Okay, and a furuncle of the posterior canal wall, it causes edema over the mastoid also, sometimes with the obliteration of the retroauricular groove. So that's why this is very important differential diagnosis with the acute mastoiditis. So furuncle, it is a inflammation of the external aortic canal, right? But the mastoiditis is inflammation of the mastoid bone. So you will be having other signs like active ear discharge, like that in mastoiditis. In this case, in furunculosis, the tympanic membrane and middle ear will be normal. Okay. And in these cases, sometimes periauricular lymph nodes, which is anterior, posterior and inferior groups, which is surrounded surrounds the pinna are tender and enlarged. Okay, so that is what furuncle. The treatment mainly, for example, the swelling, if it becomes and it contains pus, you need to drain it, or else in the early stages a very good systemic antibiotics and painkillers and local heat will be more than enough. Sometimes what we do in our clinical practice, we put a pack in the external aortic canal. Why? Because if you instill the drops, it won't stay in the external aortic canal, it go into the till the tympanic membrane. Okay, so that's why for the localized treatment we put a pack into the external aortic canal, which relieves the edema, mainly the ectomal glycerin, which really reduces the edema markedly. Okay, so it has hygroscopic action. The glycerin mainly it reduces the edema. Okay, and ectomal, it is antiseptic, so we'll put a ectomal glycerin pack. Okay, and if the abscess is very big and it is causing severe pain, then you need to do a incision and drainage of the abscess. Okay, right. Here one important point is, in diabetes the furunclosis will be recurrent again and again. Okay, so if a patient comes to you with again and again with the complaint of furunclosis, then the diabetes mellitus must be excluded. Okay, you should do a test for diabetes, and the carrier stage of staphylococcal infection also, that must be you should see. Okay, so this is about furunclosis. Furunclosis is mainly the hair root infection of the external aortic canal. It is again a painful condition. You need to give a good antibiotic and painkillers and a pack to reduce the edema. Right. The next thing is, here the etiology is it is most common in hot and humid climate, and it is more common in swimmers also. That's why it is called as swimmer's ear. Otitis externa is also called as swimmer's ear. And excessive sweating that changes the pH of the ear. Okay, and so it changes to acid to alkali, which favors the growth of the organisms. So that is important etiological factor. Okay, and one more two important thing is, one is trauma. The trauma can be from scratching of the ear with hairpins, your keychains, and some unskilled instrumentations to remove the foreign bodies, and vigorous cleaning with your little finger. And you can, people, they have a habit of putting various instruments in the ear to clean their ear. So in this process, the meatal skin may be macerated. Okay, breaking the continuity of the meatal lining, it sets the organisms to invade. So most common responsible organisms here are Staphylococcus aureus and Pseudomonas and Bacillus proteus and Escherichia coli. Okay, and in some cases the otitis externa may be secondary from the middle ear and allergic sensitization of the due to ear drops also. So unwanted use of or unrequired use of ear drops, which may cause otitis externa. Mainly here the clinical features, how the patient presents, are two forms. It may be acute form and a chronic form. In acute phase, it is mainly characterized by the hot burning sensation in the ear. Okay, and followed by pain. The pain is aggravated by movement of the jaw and chewing, and sometimes ear may having a thin serous discharge. Okay, later on this serous discharge may become purulent also. Here I want to tell you one important point. As the infection or as the discharge is not coming from the middle ear, so it doesn't have any mucus content, isn't it? So the discharge doesn't have mucus content, so that's why it won't stringe out. Okay, so it is clearly, and when you try to do clean, it is easily it will come out. Okay, right. And here the meatal skin sometimes inflamed and swollen. There might be some collection of debris and active discharge is there in the meatal wall. Okay, and the patient may present sometimes in minimal hearing loss, and as this is a acute infection, so sometimes a regional lymphadenopathy or regional tender lymph nodes also may be there along with the tragal sign. If the patient presents with chronic history, it is characterized mainly by irritation, and it is you will be having a strong desire to itch the ear, okay, clean the ear. So it is mainly due to repeated infections and reinfections. Okay, here the discharge will be scanty, and sometimes the discharge is dried up in a form of crust. Okay, and here the meatal skin again the thick and swollen. Sometimes it may show scarring and fissuring. Okay, some very rare cases, skin becomes hypertrophic and leading to meatal stenosis also. That is called as chronic sclerotic stenotic otitis externa. Okay, very rare case. So how you proceed for the treatment, whether it is acute case or chronic case? So first you need to clean the all debris in the ear canal. Otherwise, if you have a debris of wax or something, if you try to clean the ear, or if you try to put the antibiotic drops in the ear, it won't go to the desired place. That's why you need to clean all the debris from the ear canal. That is oral toilet. Okay, this is most important treatment aspect. All the exudates and all the debris should be removed gently. Okay, by removing you should not do a trauma to the ear. Okay, right. When you recollect the anatomy, the anterior inferior meatal recess, that is where all foreign bodies and where it is a cesspool of the all the discharge, you need to clean that area. Okay, and here I want to tell you two things. One is dry mopping and another one is wet mopping. Okay, so dry mopping means with a saline soaked gauze you need to clean, and dry mopping is with a dry gauze or dry cotton. Okay, and sometimes you need to clean the ear canal with the suction clearance also, and you need to irrigate the ear canal with the 30 or 40 ml syringe with the body temperature normal saline. Okay, after the cleaning of the ear canal, you need to put a medicated wick. Okay, a gauze wick is soaked in an antibiotic steroid preparation, and it should be inserted in the external artery canal. And the patient is advised to keep the ear moist by instillating the antibiotic drops onto the wick. Okay, you put the wick with the antibiotic soaked, and every 8 hourly or every 6th hourly you need to put some antibiotic drops over the wick. So, and that wick should be changed at least every second day. Okay, right. Why steroid drops means it causes anti-allergic, it has anti-allergic properties, at the same time it relieves the edema and erythema. Okay, right. Sometimes the aluminum acetate or silver nitrates also you can use. It acts as mild astringent. Astringent means it precipitates the protein layers in the superficial layer, and you can use as a wick to protect from the organisms. And in extensive cases you need to use broad spectrum systemic antibiotics. That is most commonly we used is cephalosporins. And if you suspect any pseudomonal infection, means if you see a green color discharge, that is most common with pseudomonas, So the drug of choice will be ciprofloxacin. Generally what we use in routine practice. There are so many anti-pseudomonal preparations are there, but most commonly, most safest drug we use is ciprofloxacin. Okay, and at the same time you need to give analgesic also. See here the systemic antibiotics where you use most commonly in acute infection with the tender lymphadenopathy. Generally in acute infections you use these systemic antibiotics. Okay, and in a case of chronic, generally chronic cases, here the main treatment aspect is the meatal edema. It should be get relieved with the oral toilet. So a meticulous oral toilet with the suction clearance is very important. And why chronic infection happens? Due to chronic itching in the ear, and you should relieve that itching with the antihistamines. And a gauze that is soaked with 10% dictamol with glycerin you can use for the ear canal to reduce the edema. And you need to give a antibiotic steroid cream also. Okay, you need to soak that wick with the steroid cream. Okay, right. In a case of stenosis of the external stenosis of the external artery canal, in that cases you need to relieve it surgically. Okay, sometimes you can use the drill, and you need to remove whatever the stenotic part, and you can put a skin graft. Right. This is most important. That is, this is nothing but a otomycosis. It is a fungal infection of the ear canal. Most common organism is Aspergillus. Okay, Aspergillus niger and Aspergillus fumigatus, and sometimes Candida also. So the etiological factors, the most common it is in hot and humid climate. It is most common in tropical and subtropical areas, countries. Okay, and here one important point I want to tell you is, for example, if you use chronically ear drops, antibiotic ear drops, chronically for some reason, okay, either due to CSOM, RAS, or whatever the reason, for otitis externa, whatever the reason, if you use chronically the antibiotic ear drops, it may cause development of the fungus in the ear canal. Okay, and the clinical features of otomycosis, the patient comes to you with the itching, okay, and discomfort and pain in the ear, and a watery discharge also. Okay, sometimes it might be having a musty odor, and obviously you will be having a oral fullness and ear blockage. Here, by just examination of with the otoscope or with the your speculum examination, you can say that it is otomycosis. The classical picture, it is a white, brown or black color spores you can see. Okay, and you should always do a examination under microscope. Here the important MCQ here is Aspergillus niger, it appears as black color. Okay, black color filamentous growth, and Aspergillus fumigatus appear as blue color, and Candida appears as white creamy. Okay, apart from the spores in the external artery canal, you can see a redness and secondary infections also. Okay, so you can send these fungal debris for culture and sensitivity. And the treatment mainly consists of, see, any otitis externa, the treatment mainly consists of oral toilet. You have to remove all the debris properly. If you don't clean the otomycosis debris, and if you dump the n number of antibiotics, n number of antifungals, and you can do whatever you want, the disease won't reduce, or he won't be having any relief. So the main aim of the treatment is oral toilet. You remove all the discharge and epithelial debris and whatever the growth of the fungus. You clean the ear. Okay. It can be done by syringing, suction clearance, and mopping also. Okay. And sometimes you need to put some antifungal drops like nystatin and sometimes clotrimazole, and along with povidone iodine. Okay. In few cases 2% salicylic acid with alcohol is also effective, and it is also works as keratolytic agent, which removes the superficial layers of the skin, and it also removes the fungal mycelia. Okay. Antifungal drops should be continued for a week, and you need to closely observe the patient for the recurrence. Okay. And ear must always be dry. Ask the patient to not to pour any water, or not to let the water go inside the ear. Okay. If you have a secondary bacterial infection along with the otomycosis, then a systemic antibiotic also you need to give. Okay. And it will cause the reduction of the edema, and it causes further damage. To stop the further damage. Okay. So otomycosis is a very important 2 marks question, and it may also asked as MCQ what are the most common organisms. Okay. I want to tell you one thing. Whenever you go to UK exam without otomycosis, there won't be any exam. Anyone preparing for the USMLE or FLAP without otomycosis, there won't be any exam. Okay. So the next thing is otitis externa hemorrhagica. So here it is characterized by formation of the hemorrhagic bullae on the tympanic membrane and the deep external aortic canal. Can you see over the tympanic membrane and deep external aortic canal you have a hemorrhagic bullae? Okay. The etiology is mostly viral, and it is by influenza, sometimes mycoplasma. Okay. Mostly you admit it is by influenza. It causes severe pain and blood-stained discharge from the external aortic canal when the bullae is ruptured. Okay. As it is a viral disease, the treatment mainly symptomatic, and you give a proper analgesic to relieve from the pain, and you can give a short course of antibiotic to prevent the secondary infection, bacterial infection. Okay. Right. In very rare cases, the bullae may rupture into the middle ear. For that also you need to give a course of antibiotic. Right. So here the important thing is otitis externa hemorrhagica is caused by which virus, whether it is viral or bacterial, they ask. Okay. Right. Here the most important and the most commonly and frequently asked question, here it is nothing but, can you observe, can you notice here the external aortic canal is different from the other diseases, right? If you can notice, it is something fishy, right? It is more severe, right? So that's why it is called as malignant otitis externa. It is sometimes also called as necrotizing otitis externa. Okay. Here the most important point is, it is the inflammation, it is caused by Pseudomonas. And the second important point is, the patient must be, most of the times he is diabetic. If the question says diabetic and green color or a granulation in the external aortic canal, admit it is malignant otitis externa. The name, it is a misnomer. Malignant means it is not a malignancy, it is an infection. Right? Why it is malignant means a rapidly proliferative, rapidly spreading infection. That's why they named it as malignant, but actually it is not a cancer. Okay, please note this point. Okay, right. And not only in diabetics, it is also common in immunosuppressive patients. Okay, right. Here the symptoms, the patient presents with diffuse otitis externa along with excruciating pain, severe pain. And here the hallmark of the disease is you will see a granulations in the external aortic canal. Okay, if you see a granulation with a diabetic patient, just take it granted it is malignant otitis externa. And most of the patients, by the time they present, they will come to you with the facial paralysis, facial nerve paralysis. And the infection, it rapidly spreads to skull base, and that's why it is called as rapidly proliferative osteomyelitis of the skull base, and it causes jugular foramen involvement and causes multiple cranial palsies like 9, 10, 11. Okay. Sometimes posteriorly it may spread to mastoid cavity and medially to middle ear, anteriorly to the temporomandibular joint also. Anywhere it may spread. The diagnosis is by mainly clinical. The patient severe ear pain, diabetic with granulation in the external aortic canal. If he fits for these three, take it as malignant otitis externa. Okay. And CT scan shows always a bony destruction. But here the most important point is gallium-67 scan associated with CT is most helpful for the diagnosis and follow-up of the patient. Okay, the gallium is taken up by the monocytes and reticuloendothelial cells, and it is indicative of soft tissue infection. It is repeated after 3 weeks for the response of the treatment. Okay, sometimes you need to do with the technetium-99 scan also for the bone infection. But it remains positive after a year also. Why? Because here I want to tell you, I will make it very simple. Here there are two scans. That is one technetium-99 bone scan. The second one is gallium-67 scan. These two scans tell you that involvement of the bone, which is most common for malignant otitis externa. If you do a test with technetium-99, it confirms that it is a malignant otitis externa. But if you do a test with gallium-67, after 3 weeks, if the disease suppressed, then gallium-67 scan will show negative. So it means the disease has gone. If you do test with technetium-99, it tells you that you have disease, but it doesn't helpful for the follow-up. Whether the disease has reduced or not, it doesn't show. So for the follow-up, it is best to do a test with gallium-67. It is very important MCQ question. Right, here mainly the treatment consists of, first thing, you control the diabetes. If you don't control the diabetes, if you take the patient and you put it in the tanker of antibiotic also, it won't be helpful. Okay. Followed by, you should meticulously clean all the discharge, debris and granulations, any dead tissues in the external aortic canal. And here the most important thing is the antibiotic should be directed towards the Pseudomonas. So you should give a anti-Pseudomonal antibiotic, and it should be continued for at least 6 weeks. Okay. The most common antibiotic preparations generally we use for here is gentamicin, sometimes ticarcillin. Okay, here the gentamicin is ototoxic, again you need to give. And third generation cephalosporins like cefuroxime and ceftazidime. Okay, it should be given 1 to 2 grams per day in divided doses. And quinolones, quinolones most commonly we use is ciprofloxacin. It is effective and it can be given orally also. The oral dose and the IV dose is 500 mg only. And here in malignant otitis externa, you need to give 750 mg. Okay, sometimes, and 500 mg BD also. Okay, so all of this, among all these treatment, my treatment of choice always, whenever a patient comes to me with malignant otitis externa, I'll prefer ciprofloxacin, which is safe drug and very common, very cheap drug. Okay, right. And at the same time, when you examine the patient, you need to take the for every patient, not only for malignant otitis externa, for all the patients you need to take that debris and take that discharge for culture and sensitivity. It guides you which antibiotic you need to use later on. Okay. If any patient with malignant otitis externa comes to you, please admit the patient, put IV antibiotics, control the diabetes, and give systemic antibiotics. This is what. Okay. Here again we encounter so many cases with this. That is herpes zoster oticus. It is characterized by formation of vesicles on the tympanic membrane and external aortic canal. Okay, and preauricular area sometimes. It is, if it is characterized by, or if it is associated with seventh nerve palsy or facial nerve palsy, that is called as Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. R-A-M-S-A-Y, Ramsay H-U-N-T, Hunt syndrome. Ramsay-Hunt syndrome has poor prognosis, means the facial nerve palsy may not be go. Okay, it may be permanent in 40% cases. Okay, right. It is caused by herpes zoster virus. You have vesicles. Here I want to share my experience with you. When I went abroad for the exams, they have, as a spotter, they have put the facial nerve palsy case. They asked me to, if you suspect a Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, in this case, where you will see vesicles, where you will see vesicles. So you know that facial palsy, you have involvement. So wherever the facial nerve supplies, you will be having vesicles. Means, where you want to look, the other day, last class, I told you when I deal with otalgia, retroauricular groove, the conchal bowl, preauricular area, and on the tongue tip. You need to look all these for the vesicles. If you don't have vesicles and you have only facial palsy, that may be Bell's palsy. But if you see at least one vesicle, that is Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Okay? A treatment mainly consists of antibiotic to prevent the secondary infection, antiviral acyclovir, and a good steroid to relieve the edema over the facial canal. Okay? Here, this is eczematous otitis externa. What is eczematous otitis externa? Means it is due to hypersensitivity of the organism, or sometimes it may be due to topical ear drops like clarithromycin and neomycin. Sometimes a waxolative drug, where you want to dissolve the wax, you put D-wax, that benzene drops, that is also, it causes eczema. Okay, it caused by marked, it is characterized by marked intense irritation and vesicle formation with oozing and crusting in the ear canal. The treatment mainly asked to stop the whatever the drug and put antihistaminics and a local steroid cream. Okay, right. The next one is neurodermatitis. What is neurodermatitis? Means it is caused by neurodermatitis. What it is? It's caused by compulsive scratching due to psychological factors. It is mainly psychological. Patient main complaint is itching, and otitis externa it further it proceeds. Okay, and treatmently mainly consists of psychotherapy. And how many times you treat for with antibiotics for the effect? So that's why you treat the cause. That is due to psychotherapy. For the effect, for the secondary infections, you can have a ear pack and sometimes bandage of the ear also to prevent the scratching. Okay. And another condition, that is seborrheic otitis externa, that is caused by mainly the simultaneous infection also be there in scalp, and itching is the main complaint here. The scaly greasy yellow scales are seen on the external auditory canal over the sometimes lobule and preauricular area, and sometimes on the postauricular sulcus also. The treatment mainly consists of oral toilet and application of the creams which contain salicylic acid and sulfur. Okay, and you must treat the scalp infection also. Okay, so these are the various forms of otitis externa, and here I want to tell you one important point, that is you have seen the cholesteatoma, right, previously, that is unsafe CSOM. In the chapter CSOM, we have a entity called artichoantral disease, that is due to cholesteatoma, right? And this cholesteatoma sometimes it may occur in the external auditory canal also. Okay. Here, you can ask a question like, anyway the external auditory canal is consist of squamous cell epithelium only. But this squamous cell epithelium, it goes into the bone of the external auditory canal. Okay, and it invades the bone here. It may be after post-trauma surgery. Okay, and the clinical features here, purulent discharge. So if you have a purulent discharge from the external auditory canal where tympanic membrane is normal, so you should suspect this. And granulation sometimes with sequestrated bone also you can see, and it should be differentiated from the carcinoma and necrotizing otitis externa. So that's why you need to take out some piece and send for biopsy. Okay, treatment mainly consists of necrotic bone and cholesteatoma, and you should repair the lining defect also. So thank you very much.